Welcome to the summer of 2024. It's hot outside. It's been hot in the stock market. Is that going to continue, or are we set up for some summertime blues in the market? I will answer that in just a moment. Hey, friends, this is Adam Hammer, Chief Investment Officer at Hammer Financial Group in beautiful Lockport, New York, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. All right, so let's get right into it. Summertime blues in the market. Is the market set up for a possible correction or tumble? Well, of course, no one knows that with absolute certainty, but there are some pieces of information I want to share with you that I think will help all of us become better investors. So let's just quickly review what's been happening in the stock market. This is the S&P 500. And take a look. This is a year-to-date return up over 16%. That's very, very strong to start the year, the first 6 months of the year. Take a look at just the last month in June, roughly up over 3.5%. So it's been a very, very good year in the market. With that said, though, here's the pieces of information that you need to be aware of. And let me share with you another part of my screen here, which is this. This is from our book, Learn Investing Now. And what it does is it looks at the returns of the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ by calendar quarter. So how does it do in the first 3 months of the year, the second 3 months, so forth and so on. See the blue bar is the S&P, the red bar is the NASDAQ. And if you take a look at the start of the year, the first quarter is really good. Take a look at those bar charts that are all getting positive returns. But as we move from left to right, we take a look at the first part of the third quarter, which is what we're in right now, which is July. And we do relatively well. On average, we have a 9% return in the S&P and a 4% return in the NASDAQ. But take a look at what happens in the late summer months, August and September. Uh-ohs. On average, we're getting negative returns. And that's the big first piece of information to take away. We're entering a historically weak period in the market, August and September and early October. Now, of course, just because historically the market is weaker in the late summer months doesn't guarantee anything. But it is important to know that historically we're entering, the worst part of the year that that the market has generated negative returns. On top of that, as I'm sure all of you are aware, we have a presidential election coming up in November. Stock market does not like uncertainty, and so we'll probably have some volatility, possibly a pullback, because the market wants to know who's going to lead the federal government over the next 4 years. On top of that, as I'm piling on here, there's still some concerns about inflation and the price of goods and services. Where are interest rates going to go? So you kind of have an environment in which there's some, we'll say some historical warning flags and some things to be concerned about. And as I mentioned earlier, the stock market has done so well to start the year, and particularly in the technology sector, like semiconductor stocks. Many of you have probably heard of NVIDIA, which is a semiconductor stock. That company has returned over 200% over the last year. Phenomenal performance, but not something that probably can be repeatable. So if we start to see some profit taking, some selling pressure from the tech sector, from the semiconductor sector, on top of entering a historically weaker period, on top of the presidential election, on top of inflation and interest rate concerns, yes, it's possible that the summer months could be a time to be mindful, and depending on what your risk tolerances and your investment goals are, certainly something to visit and think about if their changes are warranted. But that is kind of the important part of the video, is to just recognize that we've done really well, and the market tends to go in cycles. It doesn't always go up, doesn't always go down, and this is the information that will help us be better investors. Before I sign off here, I do want to show you very quickly our website, which I know many of you have been to before, but does have some good resources. Here, if you go to resources and our insights, you can see all of our videos. There's also market news, financial calculators that you can play around with. And if you ever need to get a contact Paul or myself, just hit this pink button, contact us. You fill out this information, first name, last name, email address, and then Paul or I will be in touch with you very soon. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see if there's any summertime blues in the market. If there is, Paul and I are here to be your resource to help you get through all of that. All right, thanks so much, and I will see you on another video. Take care. Bye-bye.